Hello. My mic just fell off my head, so how are you? I'm Judy Gold. I'm pleased to be here with Angelica Ross, Michael R. Jackson. I don't know, I'm sure you know both of these people. Angelica, American Horror Story, Pose, among other amazing things. Michael R. Jackson, amazing playwright, A Strange Loop, which was critically acclaimed for good reason. You know, the first thing I'd love to talk about is coming out, because it's such a personal thing. Coming out for everyone. I'm a member of the LGBTQRC as well, and it is such. It's really a before and after of your life, you know? It really is one of those seminal moments where you are someone else before you come out. Of course, Angelica, you had a double whammy here. Your mother was an evangelical Christian.
Yes.
So, and you first came out to her as gay,
Yeah.
correct?
Mm-hmm. I didn't have the language for it at first. And, you know, thinking about what you're saying about sort of feeling like it's definitely two different experiences. One thing, though, looking in hindsight, I think about coming out is realizing that people have got it right now about inviting in, and just the sense that I've always really was the same person. I was just growing in different wild, beautiful directions, to the left, to the right, and turning and spinning and twirling and spinning, you know. But then going into the military, I sort of was forced at that point to come to don't ask, don't tell, but they were forcing me to.
Right, and the other soldiers were the ones who forced you out of the closet.
Yes, they were hanging me out of a third-story window by my ankles, and they were basically trying to get me to admit that I was gay. And really, that obviously I didn't have the language, and it wasn't the truth for me at that time.
Right.
But I do know that as I was hanging out of the window, my life flashed before my eyes, honestly, and I just remember thinking, if I got out of here alive, that I would live my truth, that I would not let anybody, not family, I would never, ever again, because me going to the military was actually my last-ditch effort at trying to change myself. I was trying to toughen up and be,
right, of course,
be that man that they thought I was.
Right.
But just really finding out that this was not the path I was supposed to go. And really, I think life puts these things in front of you to really like smack you awake.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where I decided, okay, I did decide to sign up to the military and what have you. And yes, I should be able to, no matter how I identify, be able to sign up and be all I can be.
Well, please. I mean, I could never do, I'm afraid to join the military. Be my guest. I don't care. Yeah.
You know?
I couldn't do it. How dare our government, you know, say to people who voluntarily want to, you know, fight for my freedom, that they can't because of their gender or their sexuality. That is abhorrent.
But I think that moment really, yes. But I honestly think that was a moment to smack me awake and say, listen, you're the one who's making these decisions. You need to start making the best decisions for yourself, and this ain't it. And I also learned that when I finished boot camp and I saw the flag waving and we were all supposed to have this feeling of pride that we're going to be protecting our freedoms and country, I just realized that we weren't going to be protecting my black trans freedoms,
right,
you know, and that I knew that I would be of better use outside the military.
Right. Michael, you grew up in Detroit.
I did.
You know, a lot of, you came out, can you tell the story of how you came out? Because, you know,
we all have a coming out story.
But this is so important because of the non-representation, you know, that we all grew up with.
So I came out to my parents because I was sort of forced out by, okay, let me explain. There was a boy that I really liked who I was trying to talk to when I was in high school. I grew up in sort of like the mid to late 90s in Detroit, Michigan.
Me too.
And I went to.
The mid to late 90s part I'm talking.
And I sort of had this very interesting experience of being, coming out in a high school and a sort of across the city of Detroit around lots and lots of black gay boys. I always call that period the black gay teenage storyline of my life. But like it was a period when like there was starting to be visibility around people like Ellen coming out and Will and Grace, but we still were, it was very much undercover. And so there was a lots of intrigue and drama and sex and breakups and all these things were happening. And there was this boy that I really liked. And my dad, I think, had suspected that I was gay, but did not want to confront me about it directly. Like, he found like on my copy of Elaine Harris's Invisible Life, which I literally said I was holding for a friend, like it was drugs. And then like one day, like I was like on the phone with this boy that I liked, who was telling me on the phone that he did not like me back and that we could not date. And my dad was eavesdropping on the phone call.
Oh, landline.
And so then he confronted me, and exactly in that exact moment when he was coming down the stairs to confront me about it, my mother was returning home from spring revival at church. And so it perfectly set the scene for like a dramatic, oh my God, what are you? Like, and it was a very, very negative experience at that time. We're like in a much better place now, but like it was like a hilarious and horrifying and all the things you wish a coming out story would be.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have to come out to yourself and accept yourself, and then it's just it's the struggle of, okay, now I have to be who I realize I am in the world. Now you take it another step further and realize that you are the wrong gender on the outside. And how did that develop? It's funny, I thought of this, and I'm sure people will get insulted, but when I came out a long time ago, it was very fashionable in the early 80s to say you were bisexual, right? So that, you would ease, oh, there's a possibility, And so that was your like stepping stone, and then, oh, here you go, And I feel like trans people really go through this, am I gay? It's layered.
You know what it really is, and again, I'm so very grateful. I really do believe, I'm wonky. Okay, so I believe some wonky things. Being a Buddhist, and thank you, Tory Burch, for this thing, because it's just bringing my Buddhism.
Oh, you got free clothes?
Oh, I'm just, listen.
Is Eileen Fisher out there? I just want to say thank you. Sorry.
But my Buddhist perspective has really grounded me in why I'm here, what we're here to do, and really at this time right now where so many people are either in an identity crisis, and that just isn't with gender. That just is with a lot of things. They don't know where they fit in this world. And a lot of times when we're in a world that is driven by capitalism, we get forced into bad practices of comparison that don't really work at the human level. And so what happens is we need to get back to this place of understanding that when we have children, that we watch them grow like expectantly, like a plant, a seed, and you have no idea what's on the inside. And what happens is these labels that we create, and I learned this obviously from Eckhart Tolle, but these labels that we create, we get trapped in. We get trapped into playing these roles. And so when you are gay, when you are bi, when you are all these things, what happens is we run away from, I'm not straight, I'm not that, and sometimes into another label that is just as confining, gay. When I've now realized that there's some of my gay boyfriends want to be my boyfriend. Like, in the sense that I thought they were just gay, but all of a sudden now we're understanding sexuality is more fluid and things are more fluid. So now we're being forced, actually, instead of having a label to tell us, I know who you are, I know what you do. Y'all do sex that kind of way, and y'all do this and y'all do that, because you have a label.
Right.
Now I just have to experience you. And trans people, like now we say, I'm an experience. Trans is an experience. And we're just really reflecting to the rest of society how to live less encumbered by the roles and by the definitions. Yes, I am a woman. But if we want to go into other things, I'm also a trans woman. So when that is applicable, I bring that in and I teach and I speak from that experience. But we shouldn't be afraid to link hands as women together, because that is the thing that binds us together, is our experience as women.
I love your honesty, and your honesty is, you know, when you wrote this play, you talked. I mean, I've read that about, you know, you dealt with punishing yourself, and I think that that's something that we do as members of the LGBT. I mean, I just think it's a natural. Oh my God, because all you hear are negative, negative, negative. How did you stop that pattern of, I mean, and how important is it to show that gay men, you know, have this feeling of shame? A lot of it is shame.
Yeah, well, I think, like, just for context, for people who haven't seen A Strange Loop, which was my musical that I wrote, it's about a black gay man who works as an usher at a Broadway show.
Which is, you did.
Which I did. Writing a musical about a black gay man who works as an usher at a Broadway show. Writing a musical about a black gay man who works as an usher at a Broadway show. And it began as a monologue that I had written, just a personal monologue that I had written when I was an undergrad at NYU, to just sort of be like, I'm a black gay man walking around in the first Bush era, why is life so terrible? Like, that was just like a personal expression for myself, and like, it then sort of evolved over time into the musical. And what it was like me sort of trying to understand why it was that I was so miserable, and like, and trying to capture that in real time. And the thing that I sort of learned as I wrote the piece, and it became separate from my own personal experience, was just that there was actually nothing wrong with me. And that was like the thing that was the loop that kept going. And like, as a gay man, you know, going through the many sort of systems of oppression that I experienced and that a lot of other black gay men experience, of whether it's unsupportive parents or religion, or then even sort of dating difficulties in a capitalist system, like all the different sort of loops within loops of that can make you feel as though there's something inherently flawed about yourself. And it took me many, many years of sort of circling through the drain of that to finally come to the place where I could look at it objectively and go, there was nothing wrong with me. And the only way that I was able to get to that place was by writing the piece.
Right.
Which was
Art.
about me writing the piece.
Now, I heard you say something fascinating about that there is no glass ceiling in tech, because no one can see your face. You can do your work at your desk and no one knows anything about you. And we, of course, all wish the world was like that, but it isn't. Can you explain, both of you, how important representation is in the media, in fashion, in the arts, in journal, in everything, for our community?
Well, I just believe that it's really important, because when we see certain technology and it's always in the same hands, let's say technology of filmmaking and movie making and television making, and if that's always in the same people's hands, then we always get the stories told in a certain way.
Right.
And so it's very important, because I think that technology is one of those things that makes the world more wicked and more wise at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so we just need those people who see a vision for a better world to take the technology in their hands and create the world they see.
Right. I love that. Yeah, everyone has a soapbox now, and it's not. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it's sort of, this is linked to me writing the show, is that I also wrote my show because I felt in the sort of images that were out in sort of popular culture or in theater and what have you, that I wasn't really seeing anything that really not just looked like me, but spoke to the emotional experience that I was having in the world as a Black gay man from the background that I came from. And so even, when I saw the film Moonlight, which I thought was such a beautiful, beautiful representation of what is branded as my experience, I also was looking at something that, from my understanding, was like primarily straight men portraying that experience back to me, which was so often the experience of queer media that I was seeing with white men before that. And so I wanted to specifically create a piece that literally is cast with all Black and queer people in it, and is about a Black queer experience and the specificity of that, and in so making that specific representation speak to a universal audience as well. And so for me, representation does matter, but I also want to add this other component too that I've been thinking about as this phrase representation matters, sort of pervades our world, is that I also think so does politics.
Yep.
And I think that there's a political representation that I think sometimes can be lost if all we're sort of thinking about is like whether we're just replacing something white with something Black, or replacing something male with something female. That if you don't sort of look at class also as a intersection upon all of that, I think it can sometimes be a hollow representation. And so I do think representation matters, but so does class and so does politics.
Yeah, I totally agree. We have to stop, but I could talk to you forever. And I also want to say, when you watch when you watch the Academy Awards, and a straight person plays a gay person, it's always brave. Oh God, they were so brave. And it's about time we represent ourselves and we play ourselves.
Yes. So we too can be brave enough to cast that check.
Right, exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
It's very brave to cast that check. Yes.
I can't. Where can people find you? Just so everyone, because I know that we could talk forever and we can't.
I'm on Twitter at The Living MJ. I'm on Instagram at The Living Michael Jackson. It's my sick way of honoring him, even though I'm not supposed to do that. I don't know. Don't get me started on that.
God, that's next year's summit.
And my website is thelivingmichaeljackson.com.
Yes, and you can catch me October 3rd. We're doing the Trans Tech Summit in Washington, D.C., the same day as the National Trans Visibility March at the Human Rights Campaign headquarters, October 3rd. So,
and first trans woman to have two regular, series
roles,
regular.
Listen, that's great, but listen, I'm not about the first. Let's just be the best at what we do. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Thank you all.